Hi, I'm Amy Wynne, and I'm really excited to teach you about some color mixing here in my Rhode Island studio. It's really easy to get overwhelmed by color. You go to the art store and there's so many colors. How could you possibly choose? Well, the choice I would make if I were you and I was starting out would just be to choose 3 primary colors. So a yellow, a red, and a blue, and a white. I never really use black in my paintings. I find I can make some really beautiful dark darks just with this set of primaries. A darker blue, like Ultramarine, a darker red, like Alizarin Crimson, and a Cadmium Yellow and white are really good choices to start with. Let's talk first a little bit about palette setup. In front of me, I have my very favorite palette. It's my studio palette. It's a nice big piece of frosted glass. I have on the side here the remnants of the process of 2 large commissions I just completed. And I really love just sort of keeping all this gunky paint because it's a reminder of sort of the beauty of process of a product. So I kept that on the side. I have my palette knives. I'm going to show you how to use those. I have my palette scraper. When you have a glass palette, you can use a single-edged blade to really clean it off. It's really easy. Right now I've got my yellow, my red, and my blue. I'm going to squeeze a little white out of the tube here. And notice how I keep my paints sort of above the colors so that I can remember what's what, especially if you end up expanding your palette over time and bringing in like a second blue or a second red. It's nice to have them available right over the little pools of color. I was always taught to organize my palette from left to right, from light to dark, from warm to cool. So I have my lightest light, my lightest value is my white. Then I come to my yellow, which is a little bit darker than the white, but a warm color. My red, which is warm and darker, and my blue, which I call a cool color. So, palette knives, really important. For me, mixing with palette knives has been the secret to avoiding mud and keeping my paintings really clean and colorful. A lot of times people like to mix with a brush, but that often ends up being kind of this big, muddy situation in the middle of the palette, which we really want to avoid. So we're going to mix with a palette knife. This is a trowel-shaped palette knife. It's sort of rounded on the side. I like this shape quite a bit. And the other thing you always want to have at your disposal is a clean rag, because the clean rag is going to be a reminder to continually wipe the knife off after each color. So we're going to mix our secondary colors. So primaries, yellow, red, and blue. Secondaries would be orange, green, and violet. So let's do that first. I'm going to take a little bit of yellow. So this is sort of where my primaries live, and I'm going to make my secondaries live just below it. And then down here might be my mixing area. So I'm going to take my yellow, and I'm first going to, now notice as soon as I put that yellow down, I wiped off my palette knife because I don't want to take yellow and infect the red. So I want to take then some pure red, bring it down to my mixing area, and I'm using the back of the knife, and I'm really like just smushing the colors together. And you can see how beautifully they start to blend. I don't want a situation where it's sort of marbleized. I really want a true orange. Now if I wanted this orange to be more yellow, I'd add more yellow, more red, I'd add more red, but I sort of like this orange. So I'm just going to take this orange and I'm going to bring it up and put it in sort of a holding area there. Then I'm going to wipe off the knife, I'm going to wipe down my mixing area. I've got a secondary color there. So let's try another one. I'm going to take my clean knife, I'm going to bring some yellow down, I'm going to bring in some blue, I'm going to mix this through. It's like magic. I mean, color mixing is so incredible that 2 colors that look so different can make something like green. I'm going to take that green as my next secondary color, put it up nice and clean, clean off the knife, clean off my palette. And then the third secondary color would be my violet. Again, bring it to the mixing area, red and blue, and mix it all the way through to create a beautiful violet, a nice dark violet. Getting it to thoroughly mix. And then look at this, each time I'm disciplining myself to take it scrape it off, bring it up to the second tier, wipe my knife off, and clean my palette. Suddenly I have 6 colors. And the beauty of choosing only 3 primary colors is that no matter what painting you make, they're all going to talk to each other in a way. They're a family. They're going to really sort of feel like they coalesce beautifully. What I want to do next is I want to show you a little bit about tempering a color with its complement. So complementary colors are across the color wheel from each other. And let's say yellow is across from violet. We happen to have yellow and violet. You could take your yellow and rather than, like the go-to for some people might be, oh, I'm going to add black because black is going to kill the color. But black really kills the color. It actually kind of makes it flat and maybe less interesting. So what not to do would be to take yellow and just sort of take a lot of violet and bring it in. And look what happens. It's pretty muddy. Like, this doesn't say yellow anymore. It's sort of a beautiful ochre, taupey color, and maybe I'll be able to use that later on, but it's a huge jump between those. So rather than making a muddy sort of color by introducing a complement, which can happen, I'm going to reserve that over there because who knows, I could use that later on. I'm going to take this bright yellow and I'm going to take a lot less of the violet. I'm actually going to take my knife and I'm going to take just a little tick of purple and I'm going to bring it in to the yellow. Bring just a little more yellow into there. And if I put these side by side, like this, you can see that I've taken the yellow and I've dulled it, but I haven't made like a completely different sort of dark muddy color. So navigating just a tiny bit of purple into the primary or into its complement is going to create a really wonderful effect in terms of just bringing the intensity down and using a complement rather than black. And I want to talk a little bit about white because white lightens the color. It tints it to be lighter, but doesn't necessarily make it brighter. So you just want to add just what you need. So of these colors that are up here on my palette right now, the blue is a really rich, dark blue. So I'm going to bring this blue down. I'm going to take a little bit of white. I'm going to mix it in. And you see what a beautiful sort of mid-value blue it becomes. And sometimes I'll mix a white into a dark color to almost sort of see what the color is. Sometimes colors are so dark without white in them that I almost feel like black on my palette. So I'll do that to give me a sense of really what this blue is really like. So white is a really useful tool to lighten but not necessarily brighten. So practice using 3 primaries. Mix them to secondaries, play a little bit with combinations, and I guarantee you'll get greater success over time than having a million colors on your palette.